It's July 27th, 2023. Um, I'm sitting here. I was listening to See the BS. Um, they put up what the person by the name of Khan, she's running the Federal Trade Commission. And I'm like, I'm sitting in America with a United States of America dollhouse and dollar system for the monetary system. How on earth did a Chan, get into a federal trade commission? This is more than just a suggestion at Federal Reserve notes for Homeland Security and for the government and the people that live here and the expectations that are set. It says it on the paperwork. It's legal tender. What I'm not clear on is why, when I look through the FCC, Federal Communications Project, that's going on, why are they throwing at me representatives that are actually like participating in action in functions for which, like, who hired them, who allowed them to have these jobs, who trained them and gave them a chair? And while at the same time, I'm in New York and I have not had the same opportunity. Um, and so I'm sitting here in New York thinking about all these things. Then I put up Clear and Present Danger, which came out, and it's a Paramount movie. And I just watched the trailer of it. I really don't want to sit through the whole movie, and just got enough of a synopsis. And then I go to The President's Daughter, not the General's Daughter, The President's Daughter, that they put out in 2004. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, that really looks like Tara, Russo's daughter. I was like, now why would they put Russo's daughter, Clear and Present Danger, because that's a Century Fox and a Regency production? Why would they put Russo's daughter, who, when she got married, her photo, which my mom still has, that they mailed to the house, looks exactly like Tara? And I'm like, why would they put that there? And I'm like, with all the things that I've been shoved through, like the blacksmith, which also was in Smithtown, and knowing like the old Fourth of July parties, and I'm like there are anchors of reality that I've been forced through with no benefit to my person while all this is going on. And I'm like, and then I'm watching Cuomo on News Nation, with Adam Carolla, and they have this conversation. Adam Carolla did like this stunt or this something involving a Volvo and a Porsche, and then a swapped out engine to a Corvette C5, he mentions. And I'm like, I wonder what that has to do with the beige Volvo in the movie The Rock versus the Volvo in the movie Thor, because the paint jobs were completely different and leave you with two completely different feelings. And I'm just like, hmm. And talking about aliens, um, I'm like, this is what the forefathers look like. This is what government has always looked like. This is what my ancestors look like. And talk about foreign governments inside the United States participating. Um, let's go to what they're announcing is has a chair at the FTC. It looks like an alien in from a foreign government participating inside, calling itself the Federal Trade Commission chair. And I'm like, who allowed this chair? Because it speaks to a much broader existential threat that has been going on insidiously. And I don't understand who is responsible for taking care of these potential threats to my personal and my children's national security. So this is CWS, and this is Washington's picture while I'm in New York at the moment.
Welcome back to CBS Mornings. The Biden administration is signaling an aggressive new approach to corporate mergers under guidelines out this month.
And as far as signaling goes, when the key governmental officials participating at the federal level, which has federal expectations according to outside sources, first thing, like, take me to your leader, it's let me see your monetary system. Those are the leaders. If the portraits of the participating members no longer look like the monetary system, I mean, like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist and it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out some of these very real clues and signals. But what it does take is accurate reporting to point these things out. But I don't know where then does one lodge a complaint about unsatisfactory acting on the portion of the world stage for where you are also in some form of residence.
One of their biggest targets, massive tech companies allegedly looking to gobble up the competition. Lina Khan, the 34-year-old chair of the Federal Trade Commission, is leading the charge. Khan has...
There is a section of the world that looks like, in a territory that has a name and a label and a language and whatever else comes along with that. I don't know where or what the name is, but that's where the participation should be for her. I don't understand why inside here this is allowed to go on, along with having a label of federal. The Federal Reserve and America for the United States with the flag has a very real look. Why has it changed so suddenly? And where does one go in order to effectuate, safely?
Has taken on Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta. She argues bigger isn't always better for the little guy. First, on CBS Mornings, we spoke with Khan about what she said.
To me, this looks like foreign invasion in action. And everybody's just having conversations like us. It's great. So I got an interview with the Fed chair, and it's like, right, okay, so now it's on file that it's a known existing threat to the system. And it's not just at this federal level, but it's at several key stages inside of the United States of America territory. How does this get fixed?
Is the end of decades of retreat by government from its role ensuring fair competition.
Why would government be in retreat when they have able bodies that need work and need, like myself, I want to be in the system. I want to be in helping. I want a position. I want to be able to receive compensation, and I want to have a purpose. Where is my participation level when this has been given to something that clearly does not fit the profile of what the original design of this territory and area was set for?
In just 4 years, Lena Khan went from law student at Yale to leading 1,100 employees at the influential.
Now, same time that she was able to get to here, because she's in her 30s, I'm in my 40s, um, there was no speaking of going to university or college. Like growing up, the schools that I was in New York. So now I'm thinking to myself, were they preparing to pretty much, because that speaks to a whole nother level of governmental interference and pre-planning like one set's obsolescence while like in this clever DEI. I'm like, why would I ever agree to diversity, equity, and inclusion? That sounds like taking my inheritance and just handing it over to something that I am not, that then has the potential to enslave me in their system. That doesn't sound like a good strategy as a mother and as a woman. And I did not agree to that.
Federal Trade Commission. You and I are on the bus together, and I hear you work at the FTC. How do I know where the FTC affects me in my life?
The FTC is on the front lines of protecting the American public from unlawful business practices. That includes protecting people from.
Well, that explains a lot because there's a lot of fraud in the system. There's a lot of criminal activity going on. And at the chair, where there needs to be somebody from like the ancestors of the monetary system and the agreed upon United States of America that does have a military, that does defend our positions, things are look broken as far as signaling goes.
Fraud or scams. It also means protecting people from monopoly power that can lead to higher prices, lower wages, less innovation.
And how do you protect from foreign alien invasion when there's clearly a chair that's been taken that does not have the same ideological agreement as the ones that are supposed to defend the country from within, that the ones that are defending the country outside are relying on? Again, I'm just working it through.
32, Khan became the youngest ever FTC chair, taking on trillion-dollar corporations. 5 companies, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Google, Meta, Microsoft, represent big share of GDP, massive share of the growth in the S&P. Is that healthy?
When you have open markets, you want them to be contestable, which means that the existing giants have to be susceptible to competition.
It's now like mockery and taking the argument of what is supposed to be sitting in that chair and then voicing it. But because the signaling and the epigenetics is all wrong and it doesn't belong in that chair, it then starts to cloud judgment. It starts to change laws and make room for itself, causing this DEI situation, which on my part, it's one thing if you like invite guppies into your house and they're participating at their guppy level. But if things are being like tanks are being rearranged, that's like a signal like something's seriously off and like we're headed for danger.
Are they susceptible to competition?
Well, look, there are a whole set of antitrust lawsuits underway right now that allege that some of these companies have engaged in anti-competitive tactics that have unfairly blocked competition.
It's like they're changing the culture and the host body, but at dangerous levels. It's not like just employees, like small businesses at this point. Like, this is a big chair, a big deal. This is a big potential threat to national security.
Khan accuses Amazon of tricking millions of people into paying for its $139 a year Prime service. then making it hard to cancel.
One of the lawsuits that we filed alleged that Amazon had engaged in dark patterns and other types of deceptive.
Okay. She's currently reporting on this while actively participating in a dark pattern.
Deceptive design.
What's a dark pattern?
A dark pattern is a deceptive and manipulative design tactic that seeks to basically trick people into making decisions that they wouldn't otherwise make.
Like diversity, equity, and inclusion from really high positions, while the people like myself are trapped in their non existent positions and don't know how to get out.
Amazon says the FTC's claims are false on the facts and the law, and that by design, it made it clear and simple for customers to both sign up for or cancel their Prime membership, also pointing to high customer satisfaction. Packages are showing up right away, the prices are good. Why mess with that system?
The goal is really to be ensuring
Foreign influence, foreign infiltration. Where does one go? Who's responsible for making sure that this never happens again, or that this is stopped immediately when it's presented?
that our markets are open, that if there is a new firm with a good idea, maybe even a better idea, that they're not being locked out of the market.
At issue is whether to check companies before they get too big or after they have. Tech giants say not only are they not monopolies, but technological change means they'll always be open to competition. This year, federal judges handed the FTC high-profile defeats in cases against Microsoft and Meta.
I have to ask, why are you losing so much?
Thanks for the question, Congressman.
Republicans at a recent House Judiciary hearing were peppery.
You're a bully.
The Wall Street Journal editorial, which I know you've seen, looked at the Microsoft case, at the Meta case, and wrote this: a CEO with her record of failure would be out of a job.
We've had significant success, and I'm very proud of the wins that we've had, both in blocking mergers and.
Now, Gina and George at Maria's house when I was little at North 4th in New Hyde Park told me when they had me over there, they asked Linda and Lou if they could borrow me, and they sent me into their house. They told me that more of this, they hoped that I was going to get used to this because more of this was going to be coming. And I said, no, Maria, my one friend is enough. I don't need more and a lot more. One is more than enough. But they didn't listen.
And in suing to prevent anti-competitive conduct.
Conduct Con says that can hurt not just companies' customers, but even their own workers.
We also proposed a rule that would eliminate non-compete clauses in employment contracts.
What kinds of people have non-compete clauses?
It really runs the gamut from fast food workers and healthcare workers to engineers and journalists.
And it means what? That I can't go get a better wage, get a better job?
That's right. For example, one of the lawsuits that we brought was directed at non-competes that had been imposed on security guards. These are security guards making close to minimum wage, and the non-compete in their contract limited these security guards from going to get a job with a rival security guard company that was offering them better wages and better benefits.
Busy enough already, Chair Khan also sees emerging threats, possibly coming from artificial intelligence.
We are seeing risks that AI could be used to turbocharge fraud and scams. We're also looking to be vigilant to ensure that we don't see anti-competitive practices or unfair methods of competition where some of the larger firms that have an advantage in this market are not using that power to squash competition.
Now, is that her military's vantage point and strategy in order to break down the Interior Homeland Security's position? Because I'm listening to it very carefully.
You may wonder how Khan got this job at just 32. Well, she rose to fame in her 20s for an article she wrote as a law student. arguing the government needs to look at Amazon like the big trusts from the Gilded Age. Now, some suspect Amazon is Khan's next big target at the FTC, but Khan is not ready to comment on that yet.
She is amazing in just watching the short amount of time there, because it feels like everything touches them. There's nothing out of reach. The security guard thing shocked me.
Yeah, and she deals with the minor parts of jobs and how, and Amazon Prime and the security, and then also though she is trying to make a large.
Like, do the children need a translator for from Homeland Security directly to redirect them into what is needed to save the country and function as a correct unit, according to world stage? Because it seems like they've gotten off course. Now, Cuomo, E147, this is what he says.
Adam Carolla, big fan. Why? Funny, smart, doesn't really care about a mainstream point of view or being on some team. I've been on his podcast. His guests didn't really, his followers don't really love me, but that doesn't really matter. I'm an acquired taste. He was on mine. My followers loved him. He's been here at News Nation, and I strongly suggest you check out his podcast, okay? Let's bring in the host of one of the most downloaded podcasts, and for good reason, the Adam Carolla Show, the man himself. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Chris.
One step sideways. I saw you lose a race on TV the other day.
A car race?
Yup.
On the phone. The connection just crapped out. Can you hear me?
Oh, I bet it did. I hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I hear you now.
I was watching Sammy Malouf's show.
Oh, that show. Damn.
You were in a hopped up Porsche that had been owned by Paul Newman, and you lost to a guy in a Volvo.
Oh, Volvo body that was set on top of a Corvette C5 race car, but I know Newman will be rolling over in his grave. Yes.
But I'll tell you what, you handled it awesome. I love the show. I reached out to Sammy Malouf. I love what he's doing with his kids and his daughters and the stunt driving. But it was such a great example to me of why people love you. You went in there, you got this passion, you raced the guy. I thought you threw it, to be honest. But whatever. You lose the race. I've never even heard that this was going on. So whatever this represents on the back end, this is going on somewhere out in the universe beyond my ability. So now they're bringing it into my theater through some hyperspace. So I'm able to view it, and now I'm making note that I'm able to view it for the first time, just so my sequence of events lines up just right at timing. The race, you honor the bet, the money goes to charity. It was really fun and really added a dimension to why I think so many people like to observe what you're about. So help us understand the world around us a little bit here. Because at Interdimensional Science, if the Mattel Corporation shows up and asks me as Barbie what's been going on, I want to make sure I have my facts straight from the get-go, because they've withheld Ken, and the Barbie dream house is now looking like a lot of tiger fish were eating the guppies, and I don't really know much more how to report to if the big black SUV comes to meet with Barbie just gets in. That's her board. That's her board of the board of directors at the toy company. Of course, I'm not frightened of them. They're my board of directors. I'm their Barbie. What is crucial right now is the fact that they've kept Ken away, and I don't know why. Tia Frio 1975 and Jason 1976 are not Kens. What is your feeling going into these hearings tomorrow? Your expectation? You're thinking whether or not they're worthwhile. The UFO hearings.
Well, I like to approach things from a sort of psychodynamic level. And I'm a child of the 70s, and my entire childhood was watching Leonard Nimoy look at crop circles, want to know if the pyramids were built by aliens. We were obsessed with aliens my entire childhood. And now there's real credible proof that there's aliens, and nobody gives a crap. And I think it speaks to our narcissistic society because when I was a kid, we stared up into the heavens, and now we just stare at our phones looking for pictures of ourselves. And I would have thought the entire country would be mesmerized by it. The world would be mesmerized by it. There'd be no more infighting and no more saber rattling, and the conflict in Ukraine would stop. Like, if there was credible evidence of UFOs, and now we have credible evidence of UFOs and lots of high def pictures and photos and cockpit cameras, and nobody gives a crap because it doesn't have to do with that.
I think, first of all, yes, amen to what you just said. I have two concerns. One is that the big shots in Congress don't seem concerned about this at all. We don't have the speaker. We don't have the head of the Democratic minority. We don't have the big shots who ordinarily would like to own something significant. Second is we don't have a culture of transparency, and that's what it really worries me. I see it as the biggest crisis in our society in terms of our political dynamic is trust.
I see signaling problems with chairs that are taken by looks like lobbying measures, which he says on yesterday's episode something about a military state, that we don't live in a military state. No, we don't. But I am frightened that at all times the Mattel company knows about all the military states that run 24 hours, 7 days a week. And we're just sitting here inside. And I'm like, I am trapped almost inside this area of the toy company. I don't know where my board is. And I know that Ken has been withheld from me because I know that the two companions, perhaps, that I have toilet paper with that I never wanted, I know they don't qualify for Ken's status. So they're somewhere in the toy company, but they're not what my RH sensitive tree wanted me to bear fruit with. But now we have calendar events. And so now it's a whole nother set of circumstances.
Is trust. And trust, as we both know, in any dynamic is earned. And transparency is a key to it when it comes to oversight. We saw these three whistleblowers, and yeah, I knew most of what they've said already, but not all of it. And there were some important things that I hope you take in. Here's a selection.
You're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave. And there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing.
Mr. Grish, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
We were primarily seeing dark gray or black cubes inside of a clear sphere.
I'm sorry, dark gray or black cubes?
Yes, inside of a clear sphere.
So, there was a degree of disclosure, but there was also a lot, I would suggest, that may matter as much or more that was not said. Take a look.
And that's all I'll say publicly, but I can provide more details in a closed environment. I can't discuss that in an open session. I do know a lot of that information, but that's something I can't discuss publicly. I can't go beyond what I've already espoused publicly about that.
Now look, I think that no bad faith here. That's not my suggestion, but I think he should have to explain why he can't. Who's telling him he can't? Under what authority is it that he can't to Congress? And then if it isn't to a closed session, well, with who and when? Let's bring in two members of Congress who were there today and helped make this happen. Representatives Tim Burchett of Tennessee and Anna Paulina Luna of Florida. It's good to have you both. Thank you for joining me after a long day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Representative Luna, what did you like? What do you need more of after today?
You know, the one thing that was incredibly frustrating is leading up to this hearing, which, by the way, I want to remind people, this was coordinated weeks in advance, and there's a lot of sweat equity that went into it by myself, Representative Burchett, Gates, and Moskowitz. But, you know, we were denied access to a SCIF so that we could receive some of that information. Those questions that Grush was being asked, we actually wanted to talk to him prior, and again, we were denied access to that. My favorite thing, though, was the fact that you had multiple people, witnesses, credible backgrounds, admitting and disclosing not only sightings, but also to, as former members of the military, really what our service members are facing, and the aspect of national security that I think in previous discussions in regards to UAP, a lot of taboos have been circulating. And so I think that this is just the start of one of many hearings. I know that Representative Burchett is going to be taking lead on conducting some of those field hearings. And honestly, the first step in the right direction is going to be getting that information in a SCIF and seeing what we can release to the American people.
Congressman from Tennessee.
This is some new word, new trendy word that they're putting out there called a skiff. Like in the house, in the residence in New York over here, I've never even heard it, not out on the streets, not internally in the house until this came up.
Tennessee, am I really going to have to show up in your backyard? I reached out yesterday out of respect because I didn't like to hear that they were messing with your ability to chair this. Why are you getting friction, and what do you think happens next?
Well, when you're over the target, Chris, that's when they fire at you the most. And I appreciated what you said about Senator McConnell. It showed incredible class and good taste, so thank you. I think that's missing in our political discourse today. But you know, we've been through this. We've worked, Representative Luna, myself, and others. We've been working on this for months, actually. And you know, you rock a few boats. Maybe we misunderstood. I don't know, but I didn't want the attention to be about the chairmanship. I wanted it to be about what we're talking about, and transparency is something that we really have a problem with in government today, and it was a bipartisan effort. And some of the questions were excellent. Representative Luna, of course, stole the show with most of her questions. I just kind of batted cleanup, and it was a great day for the American public. I think that the UFO community and the people that just question what's going on in government had plenty of answers today. You know, we asked questions about, do we think people lost their lives because of this?
And don't think it's lost on me that Russo's daughter, where they say the first president, or you know, the president's daughter, looks genetically more like this person than myself. And when we go from Spanish sol, meaning the sun, and luna, meaning the moon, they landed on the moon yet again at War Theater. I'm just making notes in case the director of Mattel ever shows up and needs to question my Barbie. The only thing I really would ask back is, whatever happened to Ken?
This knowledge, and the answer was in the affirmative. We were denied access to a skiff so we could get this information. Once again, another roadblock put up by both parties, by leadership, by the so-called intelligence community, as I like to say, of the war pigs over at, or the war pimps, excuse me, over at the Pentagon. And it's just a continuation of that fact, and we'll vote to add them, and I'm sure more billions of dollars unchecked, and they will continue thumbing their nose at the American public. Representative Luna, myself, and Representative Gates were denied access down at Eglin Air Force Base. We were told we were going to get this, and we were turned away. I mean, this is your military telling your elected officials what to do. These are bureaucrats that literally have driven a four-legged mahogany around, and they're telling us what to do. You talked about it last night in some of your commentary, and it's, again, this is very offensive to me, it's offensive to the American public, and we need some answers.
So, look, the good news is it seemed to me that Congress did its homework or came with an agenda of actual oversight and understanding in this hearing that I don't always see. We'll just leave it at that. But, one, I don't like that I have a hard time getting Democrats to do this tonight. I don't understand. They were there today. I don't know. But I'll put that to the side also. What are the next steps? You need a small one and you need a big one. Luna, the small step is, Representative Luna, is how you get the information that Grush has that he says he can't say in an open session. What's the answer to that?
So the first step would be getting elected members together to put pressure on the intelligence community to give us a skiff. The reasoning that they used was that supposedly Grush's clearance was out of date, but there's mechanisms and workarounds with that. And then also too, being that he is a whistleblower, obviously he has to be legally careful about what he's saying publicly, especially during the middle of an inspector general investigation. But nonetheless, I mean, he also named things like white collar crimes. He said that he was in fear of his life for an incident that had occurred. So there are many things that we have to look into, but that would be the first start. This report supposedly may contain images and footage, and I just want to put out there that when Representative Burchett, myself, and Representative Gates went to Eglin Air Force Base, yes, we were stonewalled. Eventually, we were able, after arguing with the base commander, to interview one pilot, and we saw an image, and
I personally, even though, just so the Mattel board knows, even though epigenetics look akin to the founding fathers and the past presidents for this area, I have been so withheld from the ability to even actively participate through a series of rooms with limited social ability to climb or even to integrate. I wouldn't even know, first of all, where to find Air Force bases, but even going to it's almost like going to somebody else's house. What do you say? Do you bring a gift? Who do you ask for? I don't even know how they're constructed. I have no idea because it's never been an invitation I've been extended.
I can confirm that we saw UAP. And so the fact is that it shouldn't take a clearance to see that. There's other governments around the world that really expose us to their people. So why are we not doing the same thing?
Now, the big question is, who makes the people who don't want to talk? Now, one crazy idea is, Congressman Burchett, has anybody thought about trying to get an audience with the president and say, look, they'll tell you whatever you want to know. Why don't you say to these people at NASA and the Pentagon, this is one of the most bipartisan issues in the country. Okay, it has some of the most popular concern in the country. Couldn't he say, yeah, you're going to have to give information, or we're going to have to explain not to? I mean, you have to get answers from the top, or you're never going to really know. Isn't that a fair point?
That's a fair point, and that's idealistically, that's right, but in reality, that is wrong. they've had a history of stonewalling presidents from Eisenhower, Clinton, Reagan, probably Obama. And I just, why do we continue to trust the people who have continuously lied to us about this issue since 1947? The only thing nothing's really going to turn them around. But right now, unfortunately, they're talking about they've seen the polls, they've seen the opinions of this country, and they're starting to say now, hey, we need to study this. So guess what? They want us to send them another $1 billion. No. Turn loose the files, brother. That's all they need to do, dadgummit. This is ridiculous.
Well,
this has gone on
that's
too
a good
long.
point.
Every alphabet agency that's had this is just covered this up from day one. We've got the people saying it exists. These are military folks, and again, it doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot up here in Washington that you've got a decorated veteran, but back in Tennessee, it sure as heck does, and I know it does in Florida.
If on the world stage, the set of the United States of America, where it's Barbie's dream house, why are the chairs and the table and the everything not set the way that the expectations of a palace presidential for this area with its own monetary system? Why is it conducting itself even one day out of synchronicity and harmony with what the expectations that have already been given in visual reference tools being our monetary system? Why are they at any level when it comes to federal and when it comes to government? Why are they out of sync with the world stage, being that we have a stage to set here within the interior territory?
Listen, you get an amen from us on that. I really do believe that the purse strings is your greatest power here. If you can get the leadership and your party and then bridge it across to the other side to put some conditions on the money that they want. Representatives Luna and Burchett, you're always welcome here and have an open platform to discuss the rights and responsibilities that are involved in this in service to the American people. Thank you very much for today and for what comes next, I hope.
Thank you.
All right, and if it's in your backyard, Tim, you better be able to barbecue, because I'm 220 pounds appetite when I get down there. I want you to know, I'll come, I'll cover it, but I'm hungry.
Yeah, my wife's worried about all y'all wanting to use her bathroom, so I just don't know. We'll have to work on it, brother.
I'll bring a porta potty. Take care and be well.
Stay out of my pool.
All right, we're gonna. There's a pool and a pond. Pond is good for me. All right, we're gonna take a break. Name that movie. I'll send you a mug.
It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cateruzza. Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.